Hey guys, welcome back to Endzone Sports. I'm your host, Tim G. I'm joined with Paul, Ryan, and Brandon. And after a hectic week one, we'd like to kick off with our pick'ems for week two.
All right, we're starting off with the Thursday night matchup between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Minnesota Vikings. This one is in Philly. Right now, they are the betting favorites, and I do expect that to be the same. I think Philly's going to be taking this one at home. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I agree. As somebody that's been to a game in Philadelphia, it's a really tough place to play. Kirk playing in prime time Thursday night, not good track record there. I know the Eagles kind of came out sluggish against the Pats. I think the rust will start to wear off. I don't think it'll be fully gone in this second game. But I think the Eagles still have probably the best roster in the league, and I think they'll take this one at home.
Personally, I was a little bit torn on this one. If the Vikings can control the turnovers and mitigate those to a fair amount and not have, 2 or 3 that they had against the Bucks, I think it could swing their way. But Thursday night primetime Kirk on an away game is bad omen, so I'm taking the Eagles.
Yeah, I agree with y'all. I think that the Eagles defense is definitely a little more stacked than the Vikings. Kirk did look good except for those turnovers. Their offense was explosive, and Justin Jefferson is that dude. But yeah, I think that the Eagles offense is definitely going to knock off some of that rust in week 2.
All right, so we got a clean slate from the boys. Moving on to Sunday, we have our morning game starting off with Green Bay in Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I believe right now Green Bay is favored, even though it's in Atlanta. I do believe as long as Aaron Jones is healthy, I think Green Bay should be taking this one. So I'm riding with the pack today.
Yeah, I'm agree with you, Paul. I liked what I saw out of Green Bay in that the first week. I liked what I saw against with Atlanta too. I think it'll be if Aaron Jones is healthy and the run games kind of go at it, I think it could be a little run heavy of a game. But after last week, I trust Jordan Love more than I trust Desmond Ridder. So we'll see how it goes. I think Green Bay will take it in a close game.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's going to be a run-heavy game, but I think Jordan Love's passing ability is going to break them free of kind of a stalemate in the running game.
Yeah, and I have to agree with the bunch here. I think that with the Packers, they were able to stop the Bears and their rushing attack pretty quickly. So, as long as the Packers can get a lead early, I don't see Atlanta being able to catch up.
We're all clean slated so far.
All right, moving right along, we have Las Vegas at Buffalo in Highmark Stadium. Buffalo coming off a disappointing week 1, with Las Vegas coming off a very great performance against Denver. I don't see Allen repeating himself. I think he's going to get those turnovers in check. I think they're going to outperform the Raiders at home. So I'm riding with the Buffalo Bills.
Damn it. Yeah, I agree. I don't see Josh Allen repeating. I was very disappointed in him, not just because I have him on one of my fantasy teams, but that's not what you expect out of a guy that is one of the faces of the league. So I think there was some promise there at the end. I think they're going to build off of this loss against the Jets and come out swinging against the Raiders. And I think it'll be a pretty good game. Playing in Buffalo, another tough place to play. Always got to factor in home field advantage. So I'll go Buffalo.
Potentially a third clean slate in a row. I'm going to go Buffalo also. I think the home field advantage is going to be enough to help them get their momentum back following their week 1 loss. And yeah, Buffalo.
Yeah, I'm rolling with the rest of the Bills Mafia here. I think that Allen is going to be playing a much worse defense. So I wouldn't expect them to really put up much of a fight. I do think that the Raiders have a much more improved pass rush than previous years, but I just don't see Josh Allen having another freak game like that again.
Yeah, I agree. All right, moving to the next game, we got Baltimore Ravens at Cincinnati Bengals. This one is kind of an iffy one in my book. The Ravens just lost J.K. Dobbins. Mark Andrews missed last week, so his health is in question, which I think definitely hurts their overall roster. Cincinnati coming off a very, terrible game. Burrow did not play his best game. It was pouring rain, so give him a little bit of slack, and he didn't play all preseason. And then the Browns came out and they look like they're actually know how to play football for once. With that being said, I'm going to ride with the home team, the Cincinnati Bengals. I think Joe Burrow pulls it together, gets those wide receivers going, and they pull out the dub here.
Yeah, I'm agree with you, Paul. I was very disappointed in Burrow because in another fantasy league, I have him. And so that really sucked. And just wait till we get to the Jets-Cowboys game because you're going to be shocked at who else I had at quarterback. But I don't see, similar to what I just said about Josh Allen, I don't see Burrow repeating. That was, just terrible. A friend of mine made a really good point. If I were to sign a 5-year, $275 million contract the day or two before a game, I don't think I would have performed well either, honestly. I think I think there could be some factors there. I don't know. And also Joe does have a tendency to start out really slow. I think the Cincinnati, they still have the best receiving core in the league. I take this game here, especially with JK being out. I think it'll be tough on the Ravens losing their best running back.
A little bit of an unrelated question, but Ryan, can you let me know which quarterbacks you drafted at the beginning of the season so I can take their unders? Anyways, sorry. Carrying on. I'm taking Bengals along with everybody else. I think Burrow's going to bounce back and kind of get his legs back under him. Hopefully he's healthy and back to 100%. But taking Bengals. Home field advantage again.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to agree with y'all again. I think the Bengals are going to take this one. I know it's been a clean slate so far, but I just, I told y'all last week the Browns D-line is pretty good, and they've gotten even better. I just don't see the Ravens having that same pass rush that the Browns do, and I think Burrow's going to prove that his deal was worth it. But the only thing I want to bring up is it does look like there's a potential chance of rain on Sunday, so those small hands might play a factor again.
Yeah, can you pick it for point now? All right, going along to the next game, we have Seattle Seahawks in Detroit against the Lions at Ford Field. Seattle coming off of a very disappointing loss, had me shocked for sure against the Rams of all teams, and then as well as the Detroit Lions team that nobody can really hate, beating the defending Super Bowl champ Kansas City Chiefs at home. I'm gonna have to go with the Detroit Lions on this one. I think I love what they had go on last week. They're still rolling from their hype from the last season. Seattle coming off of an iffy game. I'm going all the way on Detroit today.
I'm all in on the pride. I picked Detroit last week. That was the pick of the week, and I'm glad I had it. I like Detroit a lot. They came out swinging. It was kind of an ugly game, but that's expected. The entire week one was ugly. To back up, okay, screw it. I'll just say it now. In my other league, the third quarterback that I had going into the season was Aaron Rodgers. So, don't listen to me when we talk about drafting fantasy teams. But my backup is Jared Goff. And so I need Jared Goff to do well personally, selfishly. But also I like the Lions. And use Jahmyr Gibbs more, Dan Gamble. I will come for you. I will come for you.
Originally enough, that's not a word, but or I guess kind of, but not in the usage. I'm taking the Lions. Following suit of y'all too. I think they're hot right now. They're going to figure it out. They have too many weapons, and I don't think the Seahawks, as good as their defense is, I don't think they're going to be able to contain them.
So I'm going to go against the grain here. I'm going to go with the Seahawks.
Tim. We had such a good thing going.
I'm going for the Seahawks, my man. I know that the Lions had a great game against the Chiefs. However, the Chiefs were without Travis Kelce and without Chris Jones. I do think that the Seahawks defense isn't that much better than a absentless Chris Jones from the Chiefs. But I would say that, I don't know, I just see the Seahawks coming for vengeance. They're missing their two offensive tackles. Those guys should hopefully come back for week 2. And I don't know, man. I think that Geno's not going to turn back into a pumpkin. I think he's going to go out there and actually have a great game and get more of his weapons involved, whether that's JSN, Tyler Lockett, and DK Metcalf.
I don't know. I think with all kind of the momentum the Lions do have, though, I want to say that home field advantage might be a thing. Like that crowd might be pretty into it and make a little bit of a difference. But sorry,
agreed.
Anyways.
No, I agree.
I won't say what I was going to say about Detroit.
All right, moving right along, we have Los Angeles Chargers in Tennessee against the Titans. This one's a little bit of a weird one. You never know. Tannehill's coming off the worst game of his career, but they are still a run-first team, and the Chargers do historically suffer against the run. But with that being said, I think the Chargers' offense is too high-powered, even with a kind of an iffy Austin Eckler injury. I still think their passing game is too good, and it's going to outmatch that Tennessee defense.
Yeah, Chargers coming off the best game of the week this past weekend, in my opinion. I think offense is too good, and Tennessee's offense can't keep up. I think Tennessee has a better defense than the Chargers, but I think the Chargers' offense is that much better than Tennessee's to win this game. I saw a stat this weekend, and I've seen it. I saw it a couple times over the offseason too. This is sort of unrelated, but it has to deal with the Chargers. Since Justin Herbert has been in the league, I'm going to butcher, but essentially what it was saying is that the Chargers have scored like top 5 most points in the league, might be number 1 since he's become the starter in Los Angeles, but the defense has allowed the most points in the league since he's been the starter. So I hate that for him because I like him. I think he gets a lot of hate, but I like the Chargers in this game. Tennessee looked really ugly.
As there's 3 Texas Tech grads in this podcast, we're very familiar with that feeling. You can ask Patrick Mahomes, our boy. But yeah, carrying on, Chargers, I'm taking them. I think their passing attacks are just going to outpace the Titans' run ability, and Titans don't have the secondary to back it up. And as far as receiving goes, they have Treylon Burks is healthy again, and DeAndre Hopkins, but I don't think it's going to be explosive enough to keep up with them.
Yeah, I'm going with y'all with the Chargers. I think they're going to be able to bounce back against the Titans. I think that the Titans can really only heavily rely on Derrick Henry, and that's just about it on offense. And if they do lose, I think that you might have Brandon Staley get fired. So I'm just throwing that out there. Don't be surprised if that happens.
This early?
Yeah.
All right.
Screw it, man.
I mean, apparently his fourth quarter play calling was absolutely atrocious. They were getting blitzed right up the middle. 6-man rush, and he kept going 5 wide. So
defensive-minded coach, man, and his defense has just consistently been garbage. Below middle of the pack.
Makes no sense. All right, moving on to probably the worst game of this week. Who knows? Could be the best, could be the worst. Chicago Bears in Tampa playing the Bucks at Raymond James Stadium. Bucks coming off a surprising win against the Minnesota Vikings. While the Chicago Bears are coming off a very disappointing loss to the Green Bay Packers. I'm going to have to go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Their defense looked really good against the Vikings. High-powered offense, limiting to, I believe it's like only 21 points or 20 points. I don't think the Bears, I think they still have a lot of work to do. I think they need to kind of get back to the running game a little more. I think they were trying to be a little too cute and pass the ball too much. That's just not what the Bears are. So I'm going with the Bucks.
Yeah, I agree with you, Paul. I feel like I've said that for every single pick, but yeah, I liked what I saw out of Tampa Bay against a good, Vikings team. Baker, I like Baker. I always have. I don't by any means say that to think that he's, going to win a Super Bowl or even get him in the playoffs. Fantasy. But I could. Maybe he'll do me better than the other 3. But I like the energy. I like his energy. I think the defense looked great. I think the Bears, I completely agree with what you said. They tried to throw the ball too much. So if they're going to win the games, I mean, they kind of got to lay back onto the run. Claypool looked terrible. But I like Tampa Bay. I think they'll probably carry some juice over from this win this past week and beat a struggling Bears team in week 2.
With the Bears kind of failing to look downfield too much in the passing game, I'm going to lean on the Bucs defense. They shouldn't have too hard of a time containing that. And Baker coming off a good last 2 quarters of his game, kind of rolling in hot to it. I think the Bucs are going to take it away.
Yeah, I agree with y'all. I think that the Buccaneers have one of the best run defenses with Vita Vea and Devin White and Levante David. I also want to just say really quick, Fields, 70% of his throws last game or his completions were within 5 yards or less. So that's just not very good at spreading the ball. Mm-hmm. And the Bears defense looked even worse. So I think the Bucs should be able to establish a run game pretty quick and take over pretty early on.
Yeah, I'm very bearish on the Bears. I'm so
Boom.
a god dang.
All right, moving right along, we have the Kansas City Chiefs going to Jacksonville to play the Jaguars. This one is going to be a fun game. I think this one could turn out to be one of the better games of the week. Chris Jones is back with the Kansas City Chiefs. Hopefully, Travis Kelce's recovered from his knee injury. Jaguars looked great last week against a pretty solid Indianapolis defense. This one's kind of in question to see if Kelce is back, then I think Kansas City has it in the bag. If not, it is a little bit more of a question. The receiving core of the Chiefs is just not ready to carry the load without Kelce. But, as a bandwagon Chiefs fan, I'm going to go with Kansas City taking this one.
Go against you, Paul, for the first time in this episode. I'm liking Jacksonville in this game. I think they looked great last week. I was bullish on Calvin Ridley, and I was correct. He looked good. Running game looked good. I like what I see in Jacksonville. I don't know. It should be a good game. I mean, you can never count Mahomes out, but his receivers kind of need to catch footballs for them to do good. So I take Jacksonville in this game.
With Kelce in question, I don't think his health really matters in this game. I don't think he's going to be a big enough X factor with the rest of the Chiefs receivers playing as poorly as they did. No, he's good. He's very good, but I don't think he's going to be the reason they win this game. I'm taking the Jags on it. I think Calvin Ridley's going to have a good day. I think he's going to be slowed down a little bit more than the Colts did. I think Christian Kirk's going to have a little bit better day, and ETN are going to be some of your better performers this week. But yeah, taking the Jags. And
I'm going against the grain here. I'm going to go with the Chiefs.
And with Chiefs, with Kelce coming off his, a hamstring injury, he might be snap counted and limited to start with too. I don't know if they're going to give him a full workload back.
Yeah,
but sorry, Tim.
I'm going to have to go against the grain here. I'm going to go with the Chiefs. I think that with Jones back, I think that's going to be a huge boost to their defense. And with Kelce, even though he, might be a little bit of a limited factor on the snap count, I still see him getting open. And maybe he's not going to be as much of a danger after the catch, but I still see him getting open, catching that, and just going down for significant yardage there. But really, the game, everyone brings up Kelce and Chris Jones, but I think the game really comes down to Trevor Lawrence. It's his third year in the league, and I think he still has a little bit of that prove it that he needs to bring to the table. This is one of those games during the regular season where it's his opportunity to bring it. So I'm still gonna have to go with the Chiefs, but again, I think that this is gonna be a great game.
Go make that money, T-Law.
Yeah. All right, and then moving right on to our last of the morning games. We have the Indianapolis Colts in NRG playing against the Houston Texans. This one's going to be an interesting battle between the two rookie quarterbacks. I think they played both really well last week. Anthony Richardson's health is in a little bit of a kind of a limbo. He did get hit on the last couple plays of the game. Looked a little bit wobbly, left the game and didn't return. They only had those are the last drive they had. But so that's kind of a big question mark. With that being said, I think their defense is still good, and they still have Gardner Minshew, who's a very competent quarterback. Obviously, they don't have Jonathan Taylor back. He's still on PUP. So as long as their run game can kind of get a little bit going, and then they feed Michael Pittman, I think their overall team is just too good compared to the Texans right now. I'm going to go with the Colts.
I know I picked the Colts when we did this earlier, but screw it. I'm going to go with the Texans now, purely because I'm a Houston boy. And I think, it was pretty promising last week. I think the Richardson, we'll see how he comes back. Hopefully it's nothing too serious because he did really well last year. He did better than CJ Stroud. But I think I like the weapons that CJ Stroud has more than Richardson. As long as he can get the ball to him, stay protected. And I still like the Texans defense. So I'll go with Houston on this one. We'll see. They'll probably screw me again. But who cares?
Yeah, I've got a pretty quick answer on this one. I'm taking the Colts. I think Richardson's going to be good to go. I was reading up on it right before we started this, and they don't think it's anything too serious. So I'm sure maybe he won't be leaving the pocket as much on designed runs and stuff like that, but I think he's still going to be enough to beat the Texans.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with the majority of the pack here and go with the Colts. I think that Richardson is, a pretty solid quarterback. He looked great against the Jaguars. The Texans defense, they're gonna be without Petrie, it looks like. I think that he's gonna be able to take advantage of that. Texans O-line, they did look pretty good against the Ravens there. I just think that it's gonna come down to, Dameon Pierce can, tumble through and start and establish a run game.
And D'Amico Ryan, can you stop doing running back by committee? Just run Pierce, please.
Yeah.
There's no reason you need to split three running backs. All right, and then kicking off the afternoon games, we have San Francisco 49ers, going to Los Angeles to play the Rams. Rams coming off a surprising victory against the Seahawks last week. With some very unlikely heroes from that game in Puka and Tutu Atwell. I still don't think they have a chance against the 49ers. They just look too good. Both sides of the ball they are, if not one, top 2 team in the league right now. So I'm riding with the 49ers.
Yeah, I completely agree. San Fran's, I'd say they're the team to beat after week 1, and the NFC has crossed the entire board. I know the Cowboys had a good game, but I think San Fran's offense looked a lot better. Ayuk is one of my favorite receivers in the league. I think he's going to continue to show out this year. McCaffrey's McCaffrey. He did what we expected as long as he stays healthy. Got Debo, Purdy came back swinging, and then their defense. Nick Bosa's the highest played defensive player in the league for a reason. So, this should be an easy game for San Fran.
Yeah, I think San Francisco has a pretty confident win this weekend. Makes a statement with regards to the NFC West and them having that division this year because Cardinals aren't going to be anything. The Rams, while they looked good, I don't know if it was just the Seahawks maybe were a little bit overhyped, but nonetheless, I'm taking the 49ers on this one. They looked great on both sides.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with y'all. I think that the Rams are going to turn back into a pumpkin. I'm not very high on them this year. I think that the Seahawks just showed up not prepared for week 1. Really don't expect the 49ers to change their game plan against the Steelers, what they had against the Steelers. I think that they're going to bring in a pass rush that's going to just be complete hell for Matthew Stafford. So excited to see that game. And then for the Rams, I think that Aaron Donald could disrupt their offense a little bit, but it's not going to be enough.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Tim, you've used the term pumpkin twice in this episode. What exactly do you mean by
Dude,
pumpkin?
It's fall season. It's pumpkin spice time.
Is that the only reason we're using it?
No, have y'all ever seen Cinderella?
Yeah, when the carriage
Dude,
turns
it's been
back
like a
into
good
pumpkin.
25 years probably.
Turns back to a pumpkin, man.
Yeah, it's been so long since I watched Cinderella, man.
I like the analogy, Tim.
I like it. I just wanted to I didn't know, so I like it.
All right, and I know I said the Bears and Bucks were possibly the worst game of the weekend. I think I have to change my mind after the Sunday night game. We have the New York Giants going to Arizona and playing the Cardinals. If Daniel Jones looks anything like he did, I know the Dallas Cowboys defense, and there was a lot of rain. It was a fantastic performance by them. But that offense just looked an absolute mess. It was like a whole first half before a wide receiver even caught a pass or even got a target. But then again, also the Cardinals are just an absolute joke of a team. Somehow they almost pulled it out against the Commanders. They had a defensive touchdown, but I don't think Josh Dobbs is going to pull it out. And I think the Giants defense and Saquon are going to kind of get back to normal, and I'm riding with the Giants.
Screw it. Chaos. I'm picking Arizona in this game. Daniel Jones is not worth. Hey, it almost worked last week, Brandon.
He wants that first pick.
Yeah.
I think. I didn't think about that. Yeah, I'm picking Arizona every week just so Brandon can get upset. Hopefully, they get out of the first pick.
Reverse psychology.
Super Bowl bound.
Yeah, I think the Giants are going to be hungover from a bad game. I don't think. Daniel Jones has yet to prove to me that he's a top 5 paid quarterback in the league or whatever. I know he's top 10 for sure, and he looked bad. He was playing a great defense, but still. Saquon is great and all, but I don't think he's enough. I like Arizona in this game. It's probably going to be an ugly game, but
while there's some bright spots on the Arizona Cardinals defensive line, it's still young. I think Saquon's going to have a field day out there, and I don't think the Cardinals are they're not going to be able to answer even to a rushing kind of attack. I think Daniel Jones will find a little bit of groove in passing. I don't expect a huge passing game out of him, but I think they're going to lean on the ground quite a bit. And with that being said, I'm taking the Giants.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with the Giants as well. I don't think the Cardinals have a pass rush nearly at the.
It's improving, but it's not there.
Like, well, dude, the Cardinals don't even have a defense, man. I couldn't name more than like 3 players on their defense right now. I just see that, like, look, Dallas, they were able to get to the quarterback. That's why Daniel Jones had all these issues. I don't see the Cardinals even getting close to Daniel Jones this week. One thing to pay attention to. One thing to pay attention to, though, Andrew Thomas is out. I think he might be out for the week. So just pay attention to that. But yeah, I don't see how the Giants lose to the Cardinals.
I mean, he was basically out this week too, so at the way he was blocking. Moving along, we have the other New York team. We got the Giants, led by Zach Wilson, RIP, Aaron Rodgers, going into Dallas, taking him on. It's probably going to be the game of the week on Fox. It's actually on CBS. Never mind. This one's not even close. Dallas is going to take it.
You see the jersey I'm wearing. I'm rolling with the boys. Last week is a promising win. I'm not going to get too hyped about it because I've gotten hyped about Cowboys teams before and they've dug my grave for me. So I'm going to take it with a grain of salt. But watching the game last night against Buffalo and the Jets, Zach Wilson was running for his life. So I think it's it's hard to say that the Cowboys defense would have 40 points in fantasy again, but who knows? I hope they do across some of my leagues. And if you missed it earlier, I did have Aaron Rodgers as a starting quarterback in one of my fantasy leagues. So that sucked. But like Dallas in this game, I think the offense needs to play better if they're going to, make a deep run this year. But I think their defense hasn't missed a beat. And I think they probably have the best defense in the league.
While there are a lot of hot moms in Dallas for Zach Wilson to ball out for, I think Dallas takes it away. I think their defense is just going to stifle the Jets offense altogether.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the Cowboys D is just freakish this year. Jets O-line isn't that good. The only thing I would want to just say is I don't know if it's going to be just an overwhelming win. Jets defense still looked pretty solid that game.
All right. Last afternoon game, we had the Washington Commanders going into Denver to play the Broncos. This one's a little bit questionable. I think Washington, with their D-line being their strong suit on defense, going against that kind of subpar offensive line in Denver, I think the Commanders could be taking the upset here. I'm gonna go with Washington in this one.
I'll stick with the Denver Broncos. Shout out to my boy Dean. I think watching the game, I know this past weekend, I know it wasn't super pretty, but I think the offense is a little more open. I still don't know what the hell happened last year. There was just so many things wrong. But I think Denver, once they find their footing a little bit, they'll be pretty hard to beat. I like their running back as long as he doesn't get hurt. So I'll take Denver in this game.
Yeah, I'm taking Denver on home field advantage. I think they're going to click, or it's going to start to click a little bit this year, and I think it'll be a good game. It's a little bit of a toss-up for me, but I think Denver's going to get it.
Yeah, I too am going to go with Denver. I think that Russ looked a lot sharper. I know the Commanders have a good D-line, but I just see Sean Payton taking advantage and using the quick game a little bit more.
All right, moving to the Sunday night game, we have the Miami Dolphins going into Foxborough, taking on the New England Patriots. The Patriots look good against the defending Super Bowl runner-ups, but so did the Miami Dolphins. Their offense, Tua, Waddle, and Hill just look too explosive. I don't think really any defense in the league can stop it as long as Tua stays healthy, so I'm going with the Dolphins.
I think Tyreek Hill, after week 1, best receiver right now in the NFL, and I think he's back with a vengeance. He looked like a magician out there, so I think it's Miami by a few touchdowns.
Yeah, I think Miami runs away with it. I think they're going to have a great day for the divisional matchup.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Miami as well. Their offense just looked explosive. Tua looks like a potential front runner for MVP. I do think the Pats will keep it a little bit closer, though, than people think. I think that Mac Jones had a great game against the Eagles defense, so we'll see how that goes.
All right, moving to our doubleheader on Monday Night Football, we have the New Orleans Saints going into Carolina, taking on the Panthers at Bank of America Stadium. Panthers offense just looked an absolute mess last week. Bryce Young struggled first game against a iffy defense in the Falcons, and the Saints defense looked fantastic last week, getting 3 interceptions. So I think this is not even close. I think that the Saints run away with this one.
I agree. I like the Saints in this game. That was an ugly game against Tennessee, but I think kind of in the same vein of what I said about Denver, as they find their footing a little more, Derek Carr gets a little more comfortable back there. Mike Thomas is healthy for now. Chris Olave is a great wide receiver. Their O-line looked bad. Trevor Penning really needs to step it up. But I think they have an underrated defense. I think DeMario Davis is one of the most underrated linebackers over the past 5 years. Take the Saints in this one. Pretty confident.
Yeah. After watching the Panthers struggles, I'm taking the Saints. Pretty easy one for me.
Yeah, I have to agree. I'm going to go with the Saints as well. I think their defense is just better, and I think their offense is going to be able to take advantage because I believe J.C. Horn is out for the Panthers.
That's big.
All right, and the final matchup of week 2 is going to be an AFC North matchup between the Cleveland Browns going into Pittsburgh and taking on the Steelers. Deontay Johnson's out for the Steelers. Their offense just looked an absolute shamble. They did play against one of the best defenses in the league. But then again, the Cleveland Browns played their best game they have in a long time last week. So I think Watson is back. He played really well. Chubb is just an absolute animal. I think they're gonna, Browns are taking this one.
Yeah, I'm with you, Paul. I like the Browns in this game. They looked a lot cleaner than they have in the past. This past weekend, the Steelers totally kind of crapped the bed, screwed me out of my pick last week. So I like Cleveland in this game a lot. I think Deshaun's on his way back.
Yeah, taking Cleveland. I think, like I said last week, I think Pittsburgh, I think they'll figure out the offense, but it's going to take them a little bit of the season to do that. And they're not quite there yet, but the Browns, they just look good. They look smooth. So I think they're going to take it away.
Yeah, I tried to warn you all a little bit about the Browns defense, man. I think that pass rush is legit. I think they improved the interior of the defensive line as well. I think Zadarius Smith and Myles Garrett should have themselves a day. The Steelers really couldn't, stop the 49ers D-line. And the Browns, they have just as good as I'm not saying they're just as good as a D-line, but they're still a pretty solid one. I'd like to see Watson continue to stay consistent. I'm going to have to go with the Browns here. And so, guys, that really wraps up our 20. Were you saying something?
Hold on. And then to go over the week 1 pick'ems, just to kind of go over the record that we have so far. Tim is in the lead at 10-6. Then we have myself and Ryan tied and Brandon all tied at 9-7. So we'll look to hope to advance from this week, week 2. But Tim?
Yeah, so just to wrap things up, that's our week 2 pick'ems. Again, please feel free to give us a like or a comment below, and please hit subscribe. It really means a lot to us. We'll catch y'all next time.
And if you win money on our picks, send it our way.
We take commissions.
Later, y'all.